I hope that you are excited about your stories. You've done some great work planning, creating your characters, and then started writing your beginning scenes. So if you think, what do you mean, Mrs. Schrank? I haven't started my story, then you might not have done your assignment on Friday. So your assignment Friday was to write the first scene of your story on your Google Docs. I'm going to show you now what that looks like. And it would have been the section that's red, the character and problem. So I shared with you my first scene. You were supposed to go to your Google Doc and write your first scene. So hopefully you did that. Today we're moving on. We're going to write the next scene. But I have some things I want you to think about. So something that a writer must do in a narrative story is they've really got to create drama. And in order to create drama, using things like dialogue and action that we talked about last week, you need to try to put yourself in your character's shoes. So if you were that character and you were going through this, what would it be like? What would it feel like? What would you see? What would you do? What would you say? And think about it like that. How can you make it a drama that's moving in your head that you can get down on paper so that the reader sees that same movie you're seeing? Something else to consider. A lot of times another character might enter the scene at some point to help you create that drama. So there can be a conversation between two characters, or sometimes it's a good interaction or a bad interaction. Something happens with somebody else in the story. So you might be thinking about what other characters are showing up in your story. They're not your main characters. You don't need to tell the reader a lot about them, but they're there so that your reader knows more about what your main character is doing, thinking, feeling. Okay? I'm going to share with you my rising action scene in my story about Amanda. I'll reread my first paragraph and then I'll draft my second paragraph. And that's what you should do too, writers. Reread what you've already written and then think, what's going to happen next? Look back at your planning document, your second box, and use that to help you write your rising action scene. So, my first paragraph. Mom, I can't find any pants that are long enough in my drawer, Amanda yelled down the stairs while she was getting dressed for school. This isn't fair, thought Amanda, who was feeling like the tallest girl in the world. Amanda was an 8-year-old third grader who was as tall as a middle schooler and really disliked not blending in with her friends. The doctor told her at her last checkup that she'd grown 5 inches over the summer. That was not what she wanted to hear because she knew that meant she was going to stick out above the crowd. Feeling a lack of confidence, she pulled the same pair of long jeans out of her hamper and hoped that no one at school would notice that she wore them yesterday. All right, so I know that she's getting ready to go to school, so I set my next scene as her going to school. And I'll tell you right now, writers, I looked back at my planning document and I decided to change my scene a little bit. And rather than just chatting with her friends, she was getting on the bus, and that's where she noticed her height again. So I changed my scene from my planning, but that's okay. It still fit with my problem. Okay, here we go. Amanda, boarded the school bus, was not feeling great, but hoping that her day would improve. So I connected it back to my last scene, knowing that if she was just getting dressed for the day at school, here we are moving on to her getting ready to go to school. Not important to hear all about what she ate for breakfast or every other detail of what she wore or did that morning because it didn't matter to our story. So I skipped all of those little things and just moved right on to the next important scene, connecting them together. She spots her friend Amelia. Can I sit with you? Asks Amanda. Of course, says Amelia. Amanda plops down, moves her backpack to her lap, and tries to squeeze her knees into the bus seat. So here you can see I've set the scene on who she's with. She's now got a friend she's going to sit with. That allowed me to put some dialogue in there, some interaction between her and her friend. And then the action of her plopping down, moving her backpack to her lap, and trying to squeeze her knees into the bus seat. So I'm accentuating that problem. I'm bringing it up again, that her height is making it hard for her to fit on the school bus. Her legs don't fit. Ugh, she sighs. I'm so tall I don't even fit in a bus seat. She puts her feet and knees out into the bus aisle. So Here she is voicing that frustration again and sharing with her friend that she doesn't even fit in the bus well. She's too tall. She puts her feet and knees out into the bus aisle. Amanda, please sit nicely in your seat, comes the voice of the driver over the speaker. Amanda pulls her legs in and shoves them into the seat, knowing by the time she arrives at school, her knees will be aching. So another place where you've got that dialogue or that interaction that just kind of makes the problem worse for her is that the bus driver notices and makes her fit her legs into the seat, and it's not comfortable for her. Okay, now that was just like 3 minutes of time. That scene was a very small moment, but that was the moment that was hard for Amanda. It didn't have anything to do with getting along with her friend. It didn't have anything to do with what she was going to do at school that day, because that's not what she's thinking about. That's not what she's worried about. What she's worried about is how tall she is. So that's the part that I'm focusing on in my story. I'm describing how that problem just got worse for her, how it's just kind of a part of her and she can't get rid of it. It happens throughout the whole day. Okay? So you need to look back at your planning document. What did you write in your rising action box to decide to write for your story? And then how can you create a drama today? Maybe you're adding in another character, you're including dialogue, you're including actions. What would you do if you were that character? And how can you share that with your reader? Good luck, writers. Go to your Google document, go to the orange section under Rising Action, and type your second scene today.